This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 14, for July 17th, 2005. Well, ladies and gentlemen, TWiT number 14 is ready to roll, and we are kind of in a kind of a hybrid state right now. David Prager, Patrick Norton, and I are in the same room. Yeah, that was David that clonked his microphone there. Can you try to keep your head up off the table, David? Yeah. Via Skype, we've got Robert Heron. Hello, Robert.
Hello.
And Kevin Rose.
Hello, guys.
Still in La La Land, but coming up soon.
Very soon.
And kind of half Skype, half phone, it's John C. Dvorak. Hey, John.
Hello.
Hey, look at that. He sounds like he's on the phone. And yet he's listening to us on Skype. It's kind of a miracle. Every time John talks on Skype, it dies. But only in the output. It's very strange. Very strange. So, and you're Robert Heron. You got your gonads nuked.
I may have.
John says they're going to shrivel up and fall off. What happened? Hello? Robert, are you there?
There goes your Skype connection.
Oh my God, he's gone.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry about that. I have a mute button that's way too easy to press.
Oh, that's good. That's good. He muted himself.
For those of us who are mildly clueless and wondering how quickly we're going to destroy the G rating in this episode.
Gonads is not porno.
Gonads is fine.
I think that's a medical term, isn't it? I think that's a lot.
Well, I had the fortune, or whatever you want to call it, of being in one of the dozen or so airports that now have those ion tracing devices, where they basically sniff you for explosives right now, is what they're claiming.
Oh, yeah. You know, I've been in one of those. They use them in the CN Tower in Canada. Before you go in, they blow stuff. Is it kind of like it's like a wind tunnel, right?
No, it looks like a long phone, or a tall phone booth, and a reinforced metal box, pretty much, that you're standing in. And there's jets flying up and down the left and right hand sides. Yeah. They puff air on you. Yeah. And then it spends a couple of seconds analyzing whatever it smells.
They have those in the CN Tower. They sniff you. I thought you were in one of those where they could see through your clothes and see your nipples.
That would be pretty funny.
What if you have tremendous BO?
The machine goes, whew. Yeah, they should have a sign that says, you need a bath.
Just a trap door into a jacuzzi or something.
But it's true. Isn't BO chemically similar to explosive fumes? No, maybe not. I thought so.
There is some relationship.
Is it just explosives, or are they looking for drugs as well, or what do they all sniff for?
Well, they use the devices in schools, I guess, for about the last year now, at least for smelling drugs as people enter and exit the building.
Oh, how interesting.
But at the airport, they're just claiming it's explosive testing or analysis right now. So that the potential's there, definitely. And it wouldn't surprise me if they are doing that as well.
It's relatively uninvasive. I mean, it wasn't a big deal.
I'll be honest. I found it actually really nice because when Vegas was we were about 110 degrees. It was about 110 degrees that day, and that was just a nice treat right before you get on the plane to get totally shot down with cool bursts.
They could do a little aromatherapy while you're doing that. It'd be nice.
It would be nice.
It really mint blowing. So I was on an airplane to and from Copenhagen on Scandinavia Airways, Wi-Fi the whole way, both ways.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was good. The quality was surprisingly good. So, it was high speed. There were a couple of times it dropped out. It's kind of like DirecTV on those, when you're turning, when the plane's banking, it loses the signal, but then it comes back.
Yeah, when you mean high speed, you're not talking, there's some latency there. We're not talking like you could play games over this.
Well, I didn't try playing games.
Hey, I've got these guys I met with the other day. Michael Robertson's got a new company called Gizmo, which is a Skype clone.
Yes, in fact, I was thinking of using that today.
They say they've been flying on these flights that you're talking about, and they carry the Gizmo code on a USB key, and they just shove it in their laptop. And they said they were talking on the thing that the speed was good enough that they could do real-time conversations across the entire Atlantic.
I was downloading files. I felt like I was online, and I was kind of surprised. $30 for the full flight, $9.95 for half an hour or something like that. But I paid the full $30. I used it. It was great. I mean, it's amazing, and every seat had a plug socket. Even in the car.
And that will get cheaper, but for just being able to have that right now, I think I'd pay the $30 too.
It's well worth it.
So would I. What about on the cruise? What kind of internet did you get there?
They have marine satellite. It's terrible. Talk about bad latency. I mean, it feels worse than dial-up.
Oh, the Inmarsat 6 stuff?
It's like Inmarsat. It's not Inmarsat, but it's very similar to that. And it's just awful. I mean, it's unusable. I wasn't going to buy it again. And then somebody gave me a free card, so I used it. But it's thank goodness, too, because I had to get online and do SSH to the terminal, to the server to upload TWiT and everything. So thank goodness I was able to get online. But it was no fun. Another neat thing about Scandinavian Airlines, they have little chefs on the plane. Guys in little chef outfits. I'm not kidding.
I've seen dishwashers in chef outfits. So
well, I don't mean they're.
What were they doing?
They go up and down the aisles.
It wasn't a Muppet, was it?
It looked like it was. It was actually pretty. It was cool though. I mean, it was an Airbus one of the big Airbuses, like the 330, and they configured for only 230 seats, so it's pretty spacious. I've never been in such a big airplane bathroom. It's about as big as my office. In fact, I was tempted to kind of start doing a radio show.
Well, Virgin Atlantic's got the walk-up bar and the in-flight masseuse.
Yeah. Well, this had a sandwich bar, open-faced sandwich bar. So maybe we should get to the news. Patrick, what's our top story?
I was on a flight one time where the chef was actually carving up dinners for everyone.
What airline's that?
It was a domestic carrier, so...
It was the 70s.
No. I'm talking
That's when stewardess used to wear hot pants.
So.
Remember that?
I was going cross-country.
John and I...
American.
John and I are the only people who remember when stewardesses... Remember the PSA stewardesses, John? They wore hot pants.
Yeah, I actually have a blog post on this right now. If you go to the Dvorak.org blog, I have a whole essay on these hot pants girls on PSA. What a disaster that was when that airline went out of business. Or were taken over by U.S. Air.
It was the original Hooters flight. They had those little hats. Remember that little weird page boy hats and haircuts?
They used to wear the hot skirts, and they always hired these leggy women, and they were calipigis, by the way. And they wore
I know what that means. Yeah. Is that like steatopigis, or is that a separate kind of pigis?
No, calipigis. Look it up.
Supercalipigis expialidocious.
It's spelled calipicus.
I know what it means. It means they could hold your drink for you. Without
that's not what it means.
It doesn't? All right, I'll have to look it up.
The drink would slide off.
Well, I thought it was more like a shelf, wasn't it? Isn't that the idea?
Okay.
Wikipedia.
Look and see if it's in Wikipedia.
I would be pleasantly surprised if it's in Wikipedia. That's the word I used to use to test dictionaries.
Calipigis?
Yeah. So, okay, what do we want to talk about first? The assault against the incredible political upset over Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and we should point out that it's not pictures of sexual activity.
It's
actual activity.
Robert, you must have done the hot coffee mod.
And it's not a simple mod to set up. It's not like you can just, do 3 thumb clicks and you're in. So.
And they have a little excitometer, and the better the job you do, the higher the excitometer.
We've got that one. The other thing we have is we have a new cybersecurity.
Let's stick with the hot coffee mod. Has anybody played the hot coffee mod yet?
Yeah, I have.
Dvorak, tell us all about it.
There's no genitals being shown.
Well, a good thing too, because these aren't the best renderings you've ever seen in your life anyway.
I mean, it's just kind of a goof, if you ask me.
It's ironic that Hillary Clinton's all in uproar over this, when in fact this is the violence in the game is appalling.
Exactly, that's the point. The violence is ridiculous. It's disgusting. Heads are chopped off and blood is spurting all over the place, and then there's this idiotic...
keep in mind that it's always the player that controls or says he wants that to happen.
But you get a reward for it.
Not necessarily. Well, I mean, in the game,
Depends who you kill.
If you kill someone in public, you get a wanted star, and the more wanted stars you have, the more heat.
Well, I've watched my kid play this game. They try to get as many stars as they can. In fact, I finally stopped him from playing it. He said, "Look at this." He comes up to a guy sitting on a bench, chops his head off, blood spurts in the air, and then he kicks the head down the street. And I said, "That's it. You're not playing the game anymore."
What game is this?
Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yeah.
I didn't think you could cut people's heads off.
Yeah, and the blood spurts.
Not that I'm against it.
Yeah, but okay. Here's the gold bond question for the parent on the podcast right now. Do you really expect Henry to not know the difference between what he can do in GTA and what he can do in real life?
Well, John's a parent. What do you think?
Sorry, John.
I have mixed feelings about it. I think, I always said one of my comments when I give talks is that, these are simulations, and you can actually learn things from simulations, as anyone who's ever flown in a simulator would know. My comment is that my kids may play Grand Theft Auto, but that doesn't mean they're going to go out and steal cars. But if they ever did become car thieves, they'd be damn good at it.
Well, you could say the same thing for CSI, or the guy who did all the Ed McBain novels here, the guy who basically invented the police procedural novel, the idea that you would, figure out exactly the way cops do it and retell it in the novel and the story. It was basically the genesis for CSI and all that other stuff.
Yeah, those novels are as close to pornographic as you can get, in my opinion.
Yeah, but the point is it's video games are just another outlet for something that's been around in various media forms for decades.
Why is Hillary all upset about this, John?
I think it's good PR for her. I think she's trying to get on that, the bandwagon, the conservative family values bandwagon. That's all there is to it. She wants to be seen as a conservative family values type of woman.
And how many people are going to say, "Oh, I'm not voting for her. She's against sex and Grand Theft Auto"?
None.
I mean, it's a no lose, right? I mean, it's not even gonna. I mean, even gamers don't get upset about that.
Nobody really cares.
No, because it's a joke. At its core, it's a joke. You have basically a sandbox of a game that you can do anything in.
Right.
The very freedom that game offers you. And yeah, you know what? You can do anything. And take even Half-Life 2. There's a mod called Gary's Mod. And you can do anything with that game engine, including posing characters in any way, shape, or form.
But here's the issue. Rockstar says... Well, actually, Rockstar's kind of cagey about this. They kind of imply that this content wasn't really in the game, but they don't go so far as to actually deny it. They kind of imply that this mod is a mod, when in fact the programmer says it's not a mod, it's a hack that opens up content that was already there.
This has got to be the biggest...
Does it open new content? Or does it rearrange existing content, much like...
I think it opens up
a movie. It opens up new content.
Yeah, the content that's been
But the point is that this is a big publicity stunt that's getting them additional sales on a dying product.
Oh, that's a good point. As usual, they're helping.
My kids don't play it anymore. They're playing the new Sims game, and there's a whole bunch of cute little new games for those Game Boy machines.
So tell me this, though. I mean, it seems to me is when you have pornography and something like this, there should be some type of regulation on it because kids can go down to the video game store and rent this game.
Yeah, but
and watch porno, in fact.
I mean, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the mod actually is kind of a pay to install. And the other thing, I mean, to address what you were saying, Kevin, is actually one of the first politicians to speak out on this was Leland Yee, who's an assemblyman from California. And he was like, this is another situation where games ratings, the ESRB has completely failed us.
Well, they're launching an investigation saying, well, we should have known about it. This would have been AO had we known the content was there. Should it be AO if you can't unlock the content unless there's a hack?
Of course not.
No. If the content's not obviously there... My kids
I think if it were rated for the movies, it would be PG-13.
You're right. It's not that dirty.
And if there is something there, it's either blurred or blocked or so digitized. That
no, you should look at it. It's not blurred or blocked. It's there. But it's not. I mean, these renderings aren't very good. They look like, Australopithecine women.
Well, so they
might be caliphagious, but they're not.
The men pretty much look the same.
They'd never make it in PSA stews.
Yeah, but I mean, this was basically blocked in the version of the game that shipped.
Right. I think probably it was in there, and Rockstar at the last moment said we better not release this.
Is it more graphic than the sex scene in the God of War game?
I haven't seen that.
It's kind of a guy walks into the room, and then all of a sudden the stuff starts happening, and the attention of the view that you see shifts over to a bottle that's on the bedside table, and the bottle keeps shaking.
It's more graphic than that.
Oh yeah.
For Rockstar in this game in particular, it seems like a big so what to me because it had an M rating.
Hey, if you could sell Postal 2, you should be able to sell this.
And if it were just adults buying this title, a big deal. You got a little extra content that you have to dig to find.
I think we should move on.
Moving on. I thought you had a conspiracy theory, though, John, didn't you?
Oh, well, yeah, I do. I wanted to talk about, I don't know if it got listed on the news items that Pat's put together, but I've come to the conclusion, and this just showed up on my blog about 10 minutes ago, John Doerr and Kleiner Perkins hiring
Colin Powell.
Colin Powell.
Yeah.
Is as far as I can tell, it's a move to turn Powell into a Democrat and run him for president, because Doerr has been a kind of a political jock sniffer now for the last couple of years, and he's been looking for a winner so he can get a White House appointment.
And he's a Democrat.
Yeah, a former Republican turned Democrat.
Just like Colin Powell.
Well, that's the way they think they're going to be able to turn or flip Powell back to being a Democrat.
How does making Colin Powell a venture capitalist help him in any way run for office?
I think the idea is they're not going to make him a pure venture capitalist, but he's going to be kind of an entrepreneur, advisor, kind of somebody that they just want to get. This is like George Bush owning the Texas Rangers. It's just a phony title, window dressing, make him look like he's, pro-business.
Karl Rove, should he be fired? Should he stay on? This has nothing to do with tech, but I just want to know what you think.
I think he should be fired.
You think he did it? He leaked the
I think it's just the White House dirty trick that caught up to him.
He's been doing dirty tricks since day one.
He's a kind of a protege of Donald Segretti during the Nixon administration.
Yeah, right. And who was Dick Tuck was the Democratic guy who arranged for posters. Remember that when Dick Nixon got off the train and wherever it was in Southern California, a bunch of pregnant black women with signs that said Nixon's the one. Remember that?
Right. That and a bunch of, I used to use strippers and all kinds of people. There's no Dick Tuck equivalent anymore on the Democratic side, which is killing them because they're so politically correct,
right.
The Democrats.
More's the shame.
That they can't do anything.
I say Hillary Clinton versus Karl Rove for 2008. That's my...
Yeah, in mud wrestling.
Tag team.
So there's a tech element to the show.
Item 2. Moving on.
Oh, boy. Longhorn to require monitor-based digital rights management, something that's been floating around for a long time, and the idea that... first of all, maybe we should just address the whole idea that Longhorn's kind of becoming a bigger joke than Windows ME. Windows ME was a money grab for Microsoft before they released Windows XP. Longhorn's supposed to be the next generation after XP, and they keep stripping everything that makes Longhorn interesting.
It's the exact opposite of ME. It's something that was supposed to be a big deal and ended up being nothing.
In theory,
it was supposed to be something and it was nothing to begin with.
Yeah, they might close some security holes in Longhorn, but the latest thing that's been going around the web is Longhorn's going to require you, if you want to have the best quality digital media experience, to buy a secure monitor.
That's
computer
never going to happen.
You don't think so? Every computer company is going to do that.
Never going to happen.
If you want to play nice with Hollywood, you better include that.
Who gives a shit?
Not me.
Well,
does it mean you're not going to be able to? You won't be able to run your pirated Hollywood DVD on your monitor? Is that the idea?
No, you can run your pirated DVD anywhere you want. That's the point.
Once you strip out the copy protection, none of this matters. Well, Robert, aren't all the new TVs coming with HDMI coming with copy protection? Isn't that the whole point of moving to digital interfaces?
Well, HDCP, the high bandwidth content protection standard, and that is a must nowadays. If you're buying a new TV and you plan to have anything digital connected to it legitimately, it now requires HDCP, and that includes upscaling DVD players to satellite boxes, set-top cable boxes, anything you could possibly do a digital video input for.
So, John, you're saying that the computer is different than the TV, that you don't, who cares?
Well, I don't think that anyone that's using a computer to watch these things, for one thing, you're not going to have that. The only time that this HDCP is going to pay off, and where you're going to need it in the monitor, is when you're going to have a big, giant image. I don't think anybody cares about getting those extra pixels on a computer screen to the point where they're going to pay extra for a screen that could be blocking all kinds of weird things. You don't want these crazy devices on the monitor side of a pure computer system. And home entertainment's a different story. I don't have, that's going to be the way it is. But does this mean
we're going to have to buy a whole nother, HDTV monitor in 2 years if the computer takes over as a delivery system for content?
Oh, I don't know.
It's broadcast flag is what it is. It's ironic because they don't have to do it. But if you want Hollywood to give you any content, you got to do it anyway. It doesn't matter.
How many people? These things may never come to pass. The broadcast flag may just never be used.
No, I don't think it will. I think it's
that's my gut feeling on the whole thing. And
that's what Michael Powell told me. Michael Powell, when FCC passed the broadcast flag, Michael Powell said, "Don't worry, it'll never last." He knew that.
Yeah, it seems like an artificial construct.
It was an accommodation to a motion picture industry that was demanding they do something, and they said, "Okay, sure, we'll do this," knowing full well it was, doomed.
Is there time the consumers demanded something? Like
movies. Yeah, good. Let's demand something. What shall we demand?
Better
People
movies.
won't put up with yet another protected format for displays that will end up in people's living rooms that they're going to be using day to day.
Yeah, but
HDCP right now is enough.
Won't anything be cracked? Won't anything that you do be cracked? Isn't it hopeless?
No,
I think so.
You can't. There's no such thing as copy protection.
Well, there is such a thing as copy protection. It's just more of a speed bump.
The only people it slows down is honest people. That's the irony of it. If you're a crook, you crack it in minutes. It's the honest people that it stops, right? The people who are too stupid to figure out where to go online to get a crack.
Or the people who refuse to crack it.
Who needs to watch these movies more than once?
Now, I know you guys talked about War of the Worlds last week, but I thought that was pretty good. I like that. Okay, I guess that's it.
Silence.
I guess I'm the only one. How about that Finding Neverland? Pretty good, huh? All right. Item 3.
Come on.
Actually, going to lay this one right out for Robert Heron. So, Battlefield 2, is it done yet? Do we deserve patches that don't crash servers?
Someone left my game out in the rain.
Battlefield, it's like EA following the Microsoft model. Release a product, fix it over the next 3 years. Are you okay, Lee?
That is exactly what happened.
I'll never have that recipe again. Oh, no.
Well, it turns out that 1.0, they released the first patch that came out about a week ago ended up causing massive memory leaks on servers, which caused all sorts of fun mayhem. In addition to, it kind of fixed some things, but it didn't others. And then they said 2 days later, less than 48 hours, they said, we recommend you reinstall the game and not update with the patch we put out a couple days ago.
Oh, man. That sounds like Microsoft.
And then Friday night, Saturday morning, they went ahead and released the quote-unquote hotfix for the patch, but hadn't yet updated any of the numbers within the updater itself. So if you weren't really paying attention, you'd be looking at it going, wait, this says version 101 and not version 102. And I applied the new patch that came out the other day just so, to be up to speed with everything. And
thanks for sharing that with us. You're welcome. Shall I put that in the show notes? It's just Robert applied the patch. I did. And we ain't talking the nicotine patch either, folks.
We need software can ship garbage, folks.
They do. They can and do.
You can ship garbage and it can stay that way.
Is it their fault though? Isn't software? Hasn't it gotten so complex?
I can't call the whole entire program a piece of garbage either. No, I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Because you're playing it like 18 hours a day. If you
want to ship something within a couple of years, you're going to have to live with that. Isn't that the case? It's too complex.
Or some of the basic lessons learned in big game releases. If you put a demo out, use that demo to collect information about potential bugs and fixes you'll need to implement. If you've got 2 weeks before the big release happens, at least you can have a patch ready to go and use some of the information. It's like, I guess you're just putting the demo out just to generate more hype.
I think there's an illusion people have about software and software development, that it's somehow a rational process, and it's a clean room, and they're people, and they're finding bugs, and the code's all nice and neat. This stuff is like sausage behind the scenes, and I don't care what game you're talking about or what program. It is a mess. It's amazing any of this stuff works.
Without a doubt, though, it is a very, very complex environment. With a brand new game engine and with the amount of different things that go into the game, be it the artwork, be it the sound, be it the AI engine or the physics engine, and having that all meshed together and create an experience that's worth the money, still, there's no doubt that it is a complex beast. But, why the game developers? Steam and Valve, they did it right in the sense that before Half-Life 2 shipped, they had a preview everyone could play. Every crash was logged and you were asked to at least submit that information anonymously. And that was all used to better the game.
And how late was Half-Life 2?
Oh, yeah, a couple of years.
Hey,
year and a half.
Speaking of software flaws, is the shuttle ever going to get off the ground, John C. Dvorak?
Well, gosh, let's hope so. This poor guy. I was just over at NASA the other day visiting. pre-launch, and these guys are hurting over there.
They must be depressed.
Funding. Oh, they got to be totally. This thing is at the end of its life cycle anyway. This shuttle.
They don't even know what's wrong, do they? I mean, there's some glitch they can't fix now.
It's a glitch on the sensor for the external fuel tank. One of the sensors for it. And
now they're saying they're going to miss the July window.
They're also saying they might decide that they want to go ahead even without just figuring out exactly what is wrong with that sensor. But
sorry.
As far as I'm concerned, though, it seems like they're actually back to normal. It sounds kind of strange, but they put the thing out there, then they get deal with the normal Cape Canaveral weather, and then every single time they launched a shuttle before any accident, they would never ever launch it on time. They'd always have a 1 month window, then they delay it, then they find their other window, and then they put it up. And that just seems to me that's the status quo.
What are they saying at NASA, John? I mean, what is the feeling there?
Now that you mentioned, I wonder if they get overtime for all that.
They should be pretty chipper in that case.
There was nothing specific about it. I mean, I didn't go there after they canceled the launch, so I don't know what they said.
All right.
That was there beforehand.
What were you there for?
They were showing the new IMAX movie. This is talking about your Tom Cruise plug earlier. They got this new IMAX movie on the International Space Station that's going to roll out, and they showed a preview of it. And Tom Cruise is the narrator. And so as soon as it said narrated by Tom Cruise, this huge auditorium moaned. It's hilarious.
Wait, he did the first one. I mean, that's the one they show right now on
maybe that's the one.
Kennedy Space Center tour.
They like Tom Cruise. What can they say?
I don't know.
I think the new director of NASA is a Scientologist, isn't he? No, I better not say that. We don't have limited liability yet. It's just hearsay, and I really disavow any knowledge of the aforesaid Dianetics diatribe.
I don't want to lose my truck.
See page 33.
IBM posts funeral notice for OS2. 2006, OS2 finally died.
John C. Dvorak was the last holdout on OS2.
That wasn't the last holdout. I gave up on that thing about 6-7 years ago.
All right. Are you sad to see it go? They're saying now, get Linux.
The problem with OS that to this day, OS2 is still a great multitasking operating system that Windows can't even come close to.
See, was I right?
Hey.
It's still used, isn't it, in financial institutions all over the place?
Yeah, it's used here and there.
I wonder if they're going to give up on it or...
A friend of mine used
They've given up on it.
There's no better way to run Windows 3.1, though. I'll grant you that.
Okay, anybody catch the Blu-ray story?
No, tell us about it.
Well, the Blu-ray Association...
Tell us the Blu-ray story.
The Blu-ray Association has released a informed study that says Blu-ray is better than HD DVD.
Well, there you go.
Funny.
I believe it.
Well, it's funny because people are like, I saw an email thread. Robert and I are on an email thread that has some pretty hardcore geeks on it, and there's kind of a moment where somebody's like, I guess I'm going with Blu-ray. We're all like, yeah,
it's better,
It's better because the Blu-ray Association says it's better.
Well, it is better, isn't it? Better in one respect, it holds more data.
Well, what's the capacity? I can't remember the capacity between Blu-ray and HD.
Well, if you triple layer HDVD, you can pull 45 gigs onto that, whereas the single layer with Blu-ray gives you 50 gigs.
So there you go. Wow. I rest my case. It is better.
Well, there's another aspect to it. Blu-ray was designed from the get-go to be read-write technology.
That's right. They do have...
As opposed to even DVD, which was after the fact.
Right. They do now have HD DVD rewritables, though, don't they? They were able to do that.
They just announced that recently. Like in the last week or so. And apparently this November we'll actually see set-top players and about 70 first-run titles in stores. So
all the Disney titles on Blu-ray, all the Universal titles on HD DVD.
And there's like all the major studios are split between the two formats.
Sony and Disney on Blu-ray and the rest on HD DVD.
So can hardware manufacturers, do the hardware manufacturers want to make devices to support both?
They already do.
Can they?
Yeah. They've already developed it.
Yeah, but it's expensive.
No, they were telling us at CES this year, Pioneer had their multi-pickup laser as well as, I think, Philips had the other ones.
It's got to be more expensive. It's got more parts in the damn thing.
Well, designing it for 2 or 3 different formats, sure. But once it's made, it can be miniaturized and optimized. It's just that initial design is the big expense.
We talked about this in TWiT 12 or whatever, so we're rehashing old ground. I'll be the keeper of the TWiT. Did you know that we are now number 3 on? Well, of course, by the time this comes out, we'll be number 2 on
or
iTunes.
7. It's kind of hard to tell.
I don't think you go down. Do you go down? I think you only go up.
No, we've gone down and up. Yeah. What Leo's talking about, folks, is our rating on the iTunes podcast page.
See, this is what's sad about that is that's all anybody's going to pay attention to from now on. That's all that matters. And
let's hope not.
Well, what I'm hoping and I pray is that both Google and Yahoo are working their little fingers to the bone right now, trying to come up with a better podcast solution because there's some problems with iTunes. For instance, it doesn't support BitTorrent. If you're not in a country where you can get an iTunes account, you can't submit your podcast to iTunes. And Apple apparently completely idiosyncratically controls who gets promoted on the front page. And if you're not promoted, I don't think people are going to find you. We're lucky.
I'm really curious to see what Audio does. Have you guys messed around with Audio at all?
Yeah, we're on Audio. We're number 6 on Audio. But if you look at it, there aren't many subscribers. We're number 6 with like 146 subscribers on Audio. So. It's not yet. I mean, it just came out. But this is Evan Williams, the guy who invented Bloggers' new project with Noah. What's his name? I don't know. I put Audio bugs and iTunes bugs and Podnova bugs on our site because it's going to make it easier to subscribe. Somebody needs if podcasting is going to succeed, somebody needs to do a good directory system that doesn't have the inherent biases of the Apple system.
I think there's one coming.
Google or Yahoo?
Neither one.
Really?
I saw it's supposed to be announced in the next week or two. It's kind of a very strange thing, but it's going to be interesting. I can't talk about it yet.
But isn't Apple the 800-pound gorilla? I mean, it's pretty hard to beat them.
This kind of goes. This is kind of interesting because it's kind of like. I can't explain it. In fact, I'm not even sure how it works, but somehow it like steals Apple's.
Good.
It redirects people who are going to the iPod site.
That's what I need. It's a man-in-the-middle attack against the iTunes music store. That's just what we need.
The echelon of music.
Well, and I don't want to go on and on about it, but I probably spent 40 hours in the last 10 days trying to get our RSS feed compliant, and Apple's own documentation is inconsistent. They do their own tags, which are duplicates in some cases of the existing RSS tag. It's just bizarre. I mean, it's obvious when you start to really look at it that Apple jumped on this bandwagon. At first, Steve Jobs, remember he called it the Wayne's World of radio? But then all of a sudden they said, this thing's got some traction. And I think probably cobbled this together in just a matter of months, and it shows it. And I'm sure it'll get better. But
you would think with 5.0 they would release some type of management tool where we could log in and say, okay, this is what's actually going to be in the episode without having to worry about these tags. You'd hope that they would provide hosting at some point.
I'm hand coding our RSS right now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
So you don't use FeedBurner has that built in though, so you can just add all the.
Only if you have an RSS feed that has your podcast as an enclosure embedded in the feed, which we don't do currently.
No, it'll create enclosure for you.
If you have an RSS feed already,
right?
That,
but you don't have to have the enclosure tag. It'll see that there's an MP3.
That's what I'm saying. What we have is a true podcast RSS. What they want is a blog RSS that happens to have a file attached to it. And then they'll turn it into a podcast RSS. But I'm not doing that. I'm doing a real podcast RSS.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a hack.
Yeah. I mean, they did it right. And you used it for Dignation, and it worked immediately, right? So
Yeah, it worked fine.
Well, believe me, I wish I had been. It was like pulling teeth. And there's still weird things. Like they have 3 entries for my KFI podcasts. For reasons I don't understand, there's only one feed. I don't know what they're picking up. I literally think there's some guy in Cupertino who's going, okay, put this right there. Anyway.
Can you do some more of that, Leo?
I think I might have
10 more seconds.
It got very quiet.
Just going to go straight onto the Leo Laporte soundboard.
It'll be interesting, though, to see if somebody can track accurately, or better at least, the new free audio and video. That's
the NSA can do it.
And they should.
Echelon, baby, echelon.
They should give us good statistics.
Somebody must know how many downloads we have. Certainly we don't.
They can do it without compromising privacy.
Well, I know how many downloads we get through FeedBurner. That's one of the nice things about FeedBurner is that I can tell how many people get it that way. But that's only one way people get the show. There's lots of other ways. I think.
Let alone the P2P clients.
I know we have at least 250,000 downloads through FeedBurner a week, and And that has to be close to the top. I can't imagine there's many people with more. I don't know who. Maybe Al Franken. I don't know. Not.
Anybody see the new XP Service Pack 2 flaw that's been bouncing around since Friday?
Yeah, they just found it, huh?
Just found it. I guess the guys. It's another case where
it's a remote desktop.
Hacker finds a hole. Lets Microsoft knows about it. Feels the progress isn't moving quickly enough, and then
they tell the world.
They tell the world.
It's not. It doesn't sound like too big a threat. I mean, it sounds a little bit tricky to implement and not.
Yeah. I think Secudia calls it a moderately critical.
Moderately. It's just another hole. What are you gonna do?
I use remote desktop quite a bit, though.
Do you? What do you use it for?
For PCs that I'll set up, I'll actually put a really strong password as the admin. And usually take the admin account for myself, and then so. If anything does go wrong with it down the road, and they're
I use it for
50 miles away,
I
just log into that box, and it's like I'm sitting there.
I use VNC for my mom, though. I don't use...
Go to my PC is actually quite nice for getting around those files.
It's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's pricey, but it's good. It works.
I'm doing next... This is a weird thing. Next, go to my PC and go to meeting sponsor the radio show, and I'm going to do a go-to-meeting, like public meeting, after the radio show next week, and we're gonna, we're just telling people sign up. Actually, I wish maybe I could get John to write it's supposed to be the top 5 technologies for 2005. Guys, what do you think? Tell me, what are they? Quick, because I gotta write this thing. You're here to hear first. A preview.
Let's see.
You gotta have VoIP in there. You gotta have IPTV.
I didn't put IP media, but I probably should. I put VoIP, wireless, and mobile.
Oh, yeah, wireless for sure.
Yeah, I put... Plastics. Yes, one word, plastics. I put, let's see, location-based technologies I think are very interesting. Hey, who's that? Who's snoring? No, RFID and GPS I think is very exciting. And look what people are doing now with Google. With an SDK on Google. Have you seen, did you see the Google Mapsometer?
And we were talking about, that's something else we were talking about a bunch recently. The Google Maps SDK is pretty cool.
It's so cool.
Well, the best one we saw was like Craigslist, which is the local listing service. You can actually look by neighborhood at what listings they have. But
I've been using that like crazy. It's great.
It is amazing.
It shows you can click on the little button there, the little pin, and it'll show you pictures. Pulling from Craigslist, it's amazing.
And there's a bagman over here that uses it to rob things.
I think, though, that what this shows you is the difference between a company that holds on tight to proprietary stuff and says it's ours, and a company like Google that's culture is openness. And boy, did they get a lot of benefit out of that.
Google's also entire stock valuation is based on people's opinion of it, of its continued growth.
Whatever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that's the point. Is that it is possible to do very well and be open. And I think in the long run, going to do better by being an open company, giving it out an SDK, telling people. Here's the opposite. Nikon, which not only has started encrypting parts of its RAW format so that people can't write software to open its RAW files. But they also don't give you an SDK to control the camera. On the other hand, Canon does the exact opposite. They tell you how you can control the camera, what's in their RAW format. And I know photographers who have hundreds of Nikon lenses who are selling them on eBay or saying, I'm moving to Canon.
Actually, Nikon, I think, didn't they just bite the bullet and make an adapter so you can use a Nikon lens on a Canon?
That's nice, but I mean that's and that's the least of it. You can't if the minute they say we're not going to let you into and Microsoft does the same thing. We're not going to let you into our file format. To me, that's the kiss of death nowadays, and that's where Google is the exact opposite. They say not only are we going to let you into it, we'll let you write cool applications that use our stuff, and of course Google's business model is different.
That's a sign of a cool company.
But that's why people love them.
Everybody's doing that, though, nowadays. I mean, it seems like APIs are just, delicious. Flickr, Text Americas of the world. Everybody is.
Are you going to do a dig API? Is there a way?
Oh, yeah. It's halfway done right now.
And what will people be able to do?
Anything they want.
So with your information?
They can manipulate it any way they want.
See how they got smart. That's just smart.
Google Earth, there's GoogleEarthHacks.com.
Isn't I know you talked about this last time, but isn't that Google Earth amazing?
Yeah.
Boy, I love that.
Oh, it's fun.
Now, Patrick, I know you showed us the keyhole stuff on the screensavers.
Mm-hmm.
But this seems to me faster and better, isn't it?
Well, I think you're talking about. I think if you and no disrespect to Keyhole, but you got a lot of bright cameras focused, pretty, and I love the serious amount of resources.
I love being able to go down and look at an angle. That's so cool. Of course, there's no information, so everything's still flat. But
that's what's it's kind of funny.
A perspective shift. But
you look at like the local searches for Google, and
it's 3D though.
It looks like it's 3D, but if you look, like okay, so you were talking about this Earth.google.com, the new satellite software that lets you go anywhere on the Earth. So go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You look at the top of the White House, right? You change the angle. You're still looking at the top of the White House. The trees in the foreground are bigger, yes, but you don't see the side of the White House. You still are looking from the top down.
True, it is the same image.
Yeah, it's a perspective trick. All it is.
But as far as geometry of the landscape, that is there.
Well, like hills are bumpy, you mean? Or?
Totally. Oh, and make sure you haven't checked the 3D part.
Oh, I have to check it out.
Actually a checkbox for that.
So you can go up and down hills? Oh, that's
totally.
Cool.
Or if you look at the Grand Canyon, you can totally say, oh my goodness, here's this huge scar throughout going across 2 states.
But you can't go down into it.
Yeah.
You can?
To a degree, I don't know how close you're going to get before the resolution.
I'm not blaming them. I mean, there's no data. They don't have satellite pictures to do that.
But one funny one that highlights what you just mentioned, that perspective distortion, is looking at Lake Mead and the dam, what is that, Hoover, right there. And Hoover has this perfect curve to it. And if you start shifting the angle at all, you'll suddenly see it just distort, and it looks very weird. You immediately pick up on it. It almost gets like a McDonald or an arch shape, that double arch shape, as you go lower on the horizon.
Right. You guys worried about blogs?
I'm scared. I'm shaking.
There's been a lot of talk about lately about people telling too much personal information in their blogs and regretting it.
Because they never did that on web pages. Or drunk after a day at the office.
That's the problem, is that they don't publish them, right?
Kiss of death.
You always go back and take that stuff out.
You can, but I mean, who was it that was looking for work and they type her name in there and that's exactly what she, it says, here I am drunk at work again. Not a good resume. Combine Google with blogs and you've got powerful dynamite, baby.
And that's also just, some people just, they don't understand.
No discretion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you sit there and it's like somebody's like, blogging and talking trash about the place they work at, and then they get upset when the company gets upset.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't thinking of you, but
I still have my letter. I have my reprimand here somewhere. I should frame it.
I was going to say, you should frame that. But I mean, it's just like, at some point you got to look at somebody and go, what were you thinking?
I wasn't. I was drunk.
If you do that more than once or twice in your lifetime, maybe you should start taking.
I guess you're right. Yeah. I learned my lesson.
I think I've done that once, and it was like, okay, I'll never. Yeah. I even turned off the automatic send and receive on my email at work.
Maybe I never heard this story. Can you
back off that?
Oh, I was. It wasn't a big deal. I was. It was in my message boards. I kind of badmouthed the management at Tech TV. I thought I did it in a clever way, but I probably.
I remember this.
I shouldn't have done it while I was employed by Tech. That's the thing I love the best is the farewell note. Somebody's got to write a book. In fact, Tech TV alone, you could probably do a couple of chapters of the flame out farewell note.
I wrote it. Do you remember Russ Pitts?
Yes, that's exactly what we're all thinking.
John, did you ever even work for anybody?
Well, I mean, I work.
So you've written some farewell notes?
I wrote a farewell note at Tech TV.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and it was very well written because you could read between the lines, but it was so inoffensive that they wouldn't take it down.
Oh, see, you're smarter than the average bear. That's why you know how to kind of cagey.
I have a copy of it too.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. We'll put it on the we'll put it in the show notes.
So this infamous Russ Pitts, the last line on his farewell email says, or one of the last lines now is, you are all probably aware I couldn't care less if the entire building spontaneously filled with eagle semen. That was the famous line.
Well, there's also
a strange person.
He
was a producer of the Screensavers, Russ Pitts.
See, the downside of that email going out the way, and we all laughed, and all was great, but he sent it to the entire building, which means it also went to the HR department and management, which means all of his exit interviews, where he made some excellent cases for massive problems that we were having in the organizational structure, were completely wiped out by that email.
Didn't really matter.
You know what I mean? So it was.
What was the web guy, Josh? Was it Green? Great farewell note. One of the best ever. Anyway, Tech TV has more than its share of flame out farewell notes. I think that's probably a new corporate trend, don't you think, with corporate email and everything?
Well, also, I mean, in some cases, it's interesting to hear from people where it's almost impossible to CC all the way the directories are set up, that only certain people in the company actually have the ability to do that.
At one point, we were told, stop CCing all because it goes to Paul Allen. Remember that?
I remember that,
Yeah, like he was reading it.
Yeah. And I just find it kind of rude, too, if you just, that's so much extra email
reply to all.
In a large company.
I'm looking for somebody who's had experience with trying to download.
Wouldn't it be funny if you got a response from Paul Allen, though, you know? I know how to do that.
I mean, the IT departments go to such lengths to break everything up, East Coast, West Coast, different departments.
What's Paul Allen up to? You know anything, John? What's he doing these days?
He's still pretending to be a guitar player.
He fired Bill Savoy, his business manager, and his sister's running the empire now.
Yeah, that's got to be a step up.
Didn't Tom Cruise do the same thing?
He did.
Yeah, he fired his PR person.
Yeah.
And his sister's doing PR?
PR person, and his sister's a Scientologist.
Sister-in-law, maybe.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got a Bill Ziff story while you're talking about that email thing.
Yeah.
Bill Ziff one of his secretaries told me this story once. He said, Bill Ziff, when they have a new sales guy, he always give him a big pep talk and say, hey, whatever you do, make sure to CC me on all your things. I want to keep up because I think you're going to go big, go a long way in this company. And so he says, invariably within 2 weeks, Ziff is grousing about the guy, asking the secretary, why is this idiot sending me all this email?
That's pretty common, where you see CEO says things, you shouldn't probably do it. Somebody was telling me Steve Jobs, he was a friend of his, worked at Apple, and he gets in the elevator with Steve Jobs. Everybody's terrified of Steve Jobs at Apple. The best thing to do is just stay away from Steve, because you don't know, it depends on his mood. Gets in the elevator, Jobs looks at him and says, what do you do for me? And the guy says, I work in such and such department. He says, I hate that department. You guys suck. I haven't seen a good you're fired. And he gets out of the elevator, and Jobs has this woman that follows him around who says to the guy, don't worry about it. It's just Steve. You still have a job. And everywhere he goes. Oh, I believe it, too, because Steve has somewhat of a temper.
That's a nightmare.
And by the way, I just checked. You're now number 43 on the podcast. Right at the bottom there.
It was fun while it lasted.
You'll be off next week.
We're gone. We're history. I said the S word.
If you think Steve Jobs has ever, I was watching back during the beginning of CES, and Bill Gates was doing his intro speech, and of course he's not as personal, I guess, so he needed to help with Conan O'Brien, so they did it with Conan O'Brien interviews Bill Gates, and as things just started to go wrong, and you could see like his lips just pursed, and you're thinking in your head, how many people are going to get fired right now because of what just happened?
He had 2 blue screens a day.
Yeah,
2. One on the Xbox, one on Windows.
That sucks to have on the Xbox.
How hard is it to crash an Xbox, for crying out loud? At least, it was a beta game, I guess. I've never seen an Xbox crash, and mine's hacked to hell. I mean,
nobody's ever seen one crash. That's why we were all excited.
It was incredible. Bill, you've done something nobody's ever been able to do before.
Are they really, really going to release that Xbox 360 before the end of the year?
They're saying November 4th, I heard last.
I don't know.
Anybody know?
People pre-ordering it.
Yeah, there's no confirmation, but they better.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's not like it's an operating system or something where they can slide for a couple of years.
Do you feel like Microsoft's got a little bit of a flop sweat going? There's a little panic going up there in Redmond, maybe just a little bit of worry, Longhorn not going too well, this spyware, this virus stuff not looking too good.
But sometimes you got to think they got to be looking at the ginormous bank account, the fact that they basically own half of the talented research scientists in the computing industry and the 80% market share. Why doesn't
Bill just lay everybody off, give them each $1 million, and go home? So we're done.
Well, the shareholders should be.
I think that'd be a great idea.
Just we're done. He could give the shareholders their value, pay off their stock, Give them 50% on their stock.
I think the company's dead in the water.
Do you? I don't think it looks good.
I just don't see any progress anymore over there.
Now, is that John Dvorak, the Benton man, speaking, or is that John Dvorak, the columnist that likes doing site riots?
I'm the Benton man.
I agree with John. I agree with John. I've never seen for the last year has not been a good time for Microsoft, and I don't see any movement. They're just not coming. You know, everything they do turns to stone.
The Xbox is the only saving grace they've got.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You think?
That's true.
You know, who knows? I mean, look, they were able to convince IBM to give them the one thing Steve Jobs couldn't get out of them, which is a 3 gigahertz Pentium Power PC.
No, it hasn't shipped yet, has it? And it's also a different chip.
Well, I'm sure Steve would have loved, a 3-core G5. Isn't that what it is? At 3 gigahertz plus? Gosh, I would have loved that.
Hard to say, though. For Windows, PC gaming wouldn't be what it is today without it. It unified a lot of hardware standards and maybe that video or audio as well as control.
I agree, sure. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, DirectX alone, never having to create another DOS boot disk.
I agree.
But there was something to be said, though, for back in the DOS days of running a single application as fast as the system.
I think it's time for Microsoft to say, you know, we've done a great job. We feel we've really produced some great products. Thanks so long, and thanks for all the fish. And see you later. Just wrap it up. Has a company ever done that? Just said, you know, we're done. We're all rich enough.
Not a publicly held company.
Processor Technology kind of did that.
Did they?
Yeah.
They said it's over. You know, we've kind of shot our wad. Thank you. See you later. We're all going to go, you know, sail our boats. What would Steve do? I mean, not Steve. Bill do. I mean, here's a guy with something's under his.
He's got a full-time job giving money away.
Now, yeah. His dad has got this new thing. He's in town today. Bill Gates Sr. is promoting world peace or something.
World peas?
Peas.
World
peas. It's a new vegetable treat. It's exciting from Microsoft.
Green
I think we better wrap this up. We had so many voices, we didn't really have time for listener questions. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't figure out how to get them up on my board, but we're using the new board. This is exciting. Nice. We're almost ready to take this thing on the road. We've got a great Mackie mixer with a FireWire I/O. I'm recording now onto the hard drive. We're actually pretty much spending all the money people have given us. We've got a new box coming to record onto. And I think that probably once you get up here in September, I think we should do this show before a live audience. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we should shoot it too, and then we can release it through iTunes as a video people could download as well. It'd be fun.
So we're looking for a restaurateur, a bar owner, a cafe owner, someone in the Bay Area. It would be nice to be San Francisco or Marin, where we could get together on a Sunday afternoon. 8 or so of us record. We'd probably like to have a live audience. You'd probably get a few people in the restaurant or the cafe.
It's always good to have those first couple of trial shows in front of an audience that can watch you sweat.
Well, talking about flop sweat. So if there's anybody interested, please, send me an email, drop us a line, leo@thisweekintech.com, because I'd sure love to do that. I think this is what's next for us. I think that's what we got to do to make this work. And we've got the equipment now. I think we're pretty much set on that. So I'd like to. Would you join us, John, if we did this live somewhere in the Bay Area?
You know me. I hate being on TV.
You could be a disembodied voice from the ceiling.
No, I'd be glad to show up.
Good. I was going to say, what if they had a wine menu, John?
We'll go somewhere with a wine menu for John. That's right.
As long as they got some good Bordeaux, I'm there.
I don't know how many people know that John was a wine writer before he was a technology writer.
Yeah, it was long ago.
Many, many years ago. But
I keep up.
You've kept up. He knows his stuff. He'll be choosing the wine for our broadcasts. Our sommelier. something flavorful, piquant, but not too fruity.
Dry.
Anything? Oh, new system coming out soon. I know that David was telling me, Kevin, you guys are working on a pretty cool one.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We don't want to give it away yet.
I won't say anything, but we need the stuff you're doing. We need.
Yeah.
Badly.
We will, the guy that's helping us out, I will bring him up, and he can help you out as well.
Good. Yes, I need lots of that.
Sounds good. We'll provide that stuff that we can't talk about right now.
Do you want to do the Dig thing this week? Put links to the articles we talked about in Dig?
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good.
Special section of Dig. Don't run and go there yet, but eventually, maybe we won't have time to do it this week, but by next week, you want to do dig.com/twit or?
/users/twit.
Dig.com/users/twit. Not necessarily this week, but we'll have a special section of Dig where the stories we talk about will be digged and dugged. John C. Dvorak's blog is?
Dvorak.org/blog. And it's DVORAK.
Does anybody not know how to spell Dvorak?
Oh, yeah, there's plenty.
Patrick Norton is available at extremeipod.com. Are you guys going to DEF CON? Did you decide?
I'm going to DEF CON.
I'm going to DEF CON. No, I'm not going to DEF CON. Are you going, Kevin? Of course you're.
I'm moving. I wish I could, but
so Patrick, bring your recorder down. You'll be covering DEF CON for it.
Hey, who's going to Burning Man?
I haven't gone in like 6 years, John. It's big, it's expensive, and...
John, did you go to Burning Man?
I went to the first one.
That was the one on the beach at Ocean Beach?
I drove by a bonfire.
That was it. That was there. There were 4 people dancing around a bonfire at Ocean Beach. That was Burning Man now. They probably they sell action figures. They have concessions. I mean, it's got to be commercial now.
Well, it's a classic. Like you should have been here in the summer of '68. That's when San Francisco was real.
Yeah.
But it is huge. I think they expect something like 40,000 people this year at Burning Man.
Oh, that's the last place I want to be.
In the sense of an autonomous community coming together over a matter of weeks and disappearing over a matter of weeks, it's still pretty amazing.
Let's go hang out in the desert with 45,000 crazy people on ecstasy.
Actually, there's a lot less of that than you'd think.
Really? Yeah.
I'm not saying there's not a fair amount of it, but it's...
Yeah, there's too many naked men.
Yeah, naked burning men. I'm burning.
My wife described Burning Man as naked men on bicycles.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
As somebody, it's not quite that bad, or at least it wasn't last time I was there.
That was 6 years ago. Lots can happen in 6 years. Scary thought. Robert Heron, you can catch his work, of course, PCMag.com, right?
Yeah, that and FromTheShadows.tv. We just put out Box 4. And I've got to say, I'm very proud of this episode. We covered a lot of cool stuff and even had a good, almost like a anxious segment at the end, dealing with someone who developed a piece of technology that lets you go through red lights.
Oh, jeez.
So,
did you get arrested?
No.
Did you get stopped?
No, it was pretty crazy, I will say that, but an interesting view.
And Mr. David Prager.
Someday there'll be a DavidPrager.com. It exists. I have it, and I will put something there.
You know, Prager, at least plug where you work now, man.
And I'm sorry.
It says plug where you work because he works.
There's a new. I think we should plug it when we've got when the next episode's coming out pretty soon. It's going to be cool. But the site just got updated to revision3.com.
Oh, you have a revision3.com site?
Yeah, we got the forums up now. And
so it's not system.org, it's revision3.
Well, system.org forwards now. We have we're trying to put all the brands underneath one site.
This guy. Okay, I'm taking votes. How many months before Kevin Rose breaks $1 million? Before 2005 is over, I think. Mr. Entrepreneur. Yeah, he's the Mark Cuban of the TWiT.
Only if he sells at the right time and pockets the cash to buy the basketball.
I think he's smart. I think he's going to do it. I'm the Captain Crunch of the TWiTs. John Draper. My teeth are falling out of
you around with cameras constantly.
Yeah, God, he used to come on the screensavers, and we had to go give him a ride and find where he was and get him into the studio.
Get him out of jail. Oh, yeah. I remember hanging out with Captain Crunch in San Jose in the early 80s, I think it was. He always wanted to wrestle. That was his thing. He'd want to take you in the back room and wrestle you. And I understand he wrestled, he and Woz and Jobs like to wrestle. Or wrestle, I think is what he calls it. Wrestling. Wrestle.
Gladiator movies?
I never wrestled with Captain Crunch.
Probably a wise choice.
I think you'd have to towel off afterwards.
I do believe there was toweling involved, actually.
Should any of us explain who Captain Crunch is for the vast multitude Captain Crunch is one of the original phone freaks named for detecting that the whistle in Captain Crunch cereal would pull up the long-distance dial code back in the early AT&T phone freaking, which is basically hacking phone systems.
And the frequency was?
2600.
2600, that's right. That's right. Kilohertz or hertz.
Was it 20? I think
the 2600 hertz tones AT&T used to facilitate long distance calling.
Brilliant guy.
For the days.
A little out there, but a brilliant guy.
For more about Captain Crunch, visit your local library
or Wikipedia.
All right, gentlemen, it is another TWiT in the can, and that's probably where it belongs. Thank you all for being here. Remember, folks, we've spent all your money, so please go back to the website and contribute more. We'd like to spend more of it. Well, you have a nice setup now. I mean, the good news is we've spent it on constructive stuff to make this a better podcast. Mm-hmm. That and the Bordeaux. But other than that, and the fish cheeks. Somebody actually sent me a note saying, I can't believe you spent our money on fish cheeks. So I'd just like to that came out of my pocket, as most of this stuff has so far. Not that I'm complaining, mind you, because we are number 72 and falling on iTunes Music Store. Sorry, Steve. Have a good day. Thanks, everybody. That's it for this edition of This Week in Tech, episode 14. If you have a question for the TWiTs, leave us a voicemail. Our Skype address is This Week in Tech, or you can call or fax 206-339-TWiT. Of course, you can always record a WAV or MP3 and email it to questions@thisweekintech.com. Keep them short, under 30 seconds. Please begin the question with your name or handle and location. If you'd like to know more about the topics we talked about, or to make a donation to the cause, visit our website at thisweekintech.com. And remember, we're looking for someone to host a live This Week in Tech broadcast every Sunday afternoon somewhere in the San Francisco Bay Area. If you would like to do that or know someone who might, email me, Leo, at thisweekintech.com. For Patrick, Kevin, John C. Dvorak, David Prager, and Robert Heron, I'm Leo Laporte. Thanks for joining us on This Week in Tech. We'll see you next time.